16 women tonight, some of them before the cameras, saying that as the country holds men accountable for sexual misconduct, they say the president should not be immune. Tonight, how the White House responds. Less than 24 hours now until voters go to the polls in the Alabama Senate race. Roy Moore tonight sitting down for an interview with a 12-year-old girl. The other Republican senator from Alabama saying he did not vote for Moore. The major winter storm moving in from Wisconsin all the way to Maine tonight. The wildfires in California and the fire lines tonight they've been digging to stop those fires. The flames now jumping right over them.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a very busy Monday night. And we begin with that terror attack here in New York City, striking a Times Square subway tunnel at the height of the commute. The governor calling it, quote, one of our worst nightmares. Surveillance video capturing the moment the attacker's bomb went off before it was supposed to, sending out smoke, people running in fear, and that's the bomber there, sprawled on the floor. A massive police and fire response shutting down Times Square. Police say the suspect is an immigrant from Bangladesh. He survived this, and tonight what he's now telling police. As we also learn, authorities say he was wearing the bomb the entire time, from the moment he boarded the train in Brooklyn during his trip to Times Square. ABC's Gio Benitez leading us off.
Tonight, this is the moment authorities are calling an act of terror. Surveillance camera footage capturing a man detonating a homemade pipe bomb strapped to his body. Here from another angle, the suspect circled, surrounded by unsuspecting commuters. Then suddenly, an explosion, a cloud of smoke. The crowd disperses, injuring 5 and leaving the suspect on the ground, still alive, and so was everyone around him. The bomb only partially detonated.
This was an attempted terrorist attack. Thank God the perpetrator did not achieve his ultimate goals.
The attack striking the heart of New York City in the middle of this morning's rush hour. A law enforcement source tells ABC News the suspect had been on the train for some time, the bomb strapped to him the whole time, riding from Brooklyn to Manhattan.
Inside the subway, they evacuating at this time.
Police responding to a reported explosion at around 7:20 this morning near Times Square in a jam-packed underground tunnel beneath New York's Port Authority bus terminal. Officials say these 4 police officers approached the suspect still on the ground, identifying the man as 27-year-old Akayed Ullah, originally from Bangladesh. He moved to America 7 years ago on a family visa and has a green card. Suffering injuries to his arms and torso, he was taken to the hospital. It was there, officials say, where he told them he was inspired by ISIS propaganda and built the makeshift bomb in his Brooklyn apartment using instructions he found on the internet. He's believed to have acted alone.
The device is based on a pipe bomb. It was affixed to his person with a combination of Velcro and zip ties.
According to a law enforcement source, the bomb was built from a pipe about 12 inches in length with black powder and rigged with a 9-volt battery and a wire that came from a Christmas light. Because it was strapped to Ullah with zip ties and Velcro, the assumption is he had been prepared to die a suicide bomber. In the immediate aftermath, commuters quickly evacuated.
Police were all behind them saying, everybody out of the building, everybody out of the building.
Christina Bethia was in that tunnel, saw the explosion, and safely ran from it.
What's going through your mind right now as you see all of this going on? This is where you work.
If I don't believe in no God, I believe in God today. That's the only thing I can say.
The NYPD outfitted with assault rifles, locking down the scene, checking for other possible devices. The normally packed subway platforms, today, empty. And right now we are underground in the subway system, and you can just see right there, it is all boarded up because beyond that point, that is where the pipe bomb detonated. Bomb-sniffing dogs brought in, choppers roared overhead. While in Brooklyn, the FBI searching 3 different homes in the area thought to be connected to the suspect, his family inside, neighbors stunned.
We all know each other, we're all friends, we all go to the same church. I mean, I'm shocked.
And Gio Benitez with us live tonight outside the scene of the blast in the heart of New York. And Gio, just moments ago, we heard from the suspect's family.
That's right, David. We just got this through a spokesperson. The family says this: we are heartbroken by the violence and allegations, and they add, we have confidence that the justice system will find the truth behind this attack. David.
Gio Benitez leading us off. Gio, thank you. This comes as millions visit New York City for the Christmas season, and why the suspect targeted Times Square. Tonight, authorities have taken note of what was recently said in ISIS propaganda. And the question tonight, how do you keep areas like Times Square and the subway safe? Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
Tonight, security across New York ramped up in the wake of today's attack. The city is already on heightened alert heading into the holidays. Law enforcement sources tell ABC News Ullah did not specifically say why he chose Times Square, but indicated to authorities he had consumed ISIS and al-Qaeda propaganda, which mentioned Times Square as a possible venue for attack. ISIS releasing this chilling image just a few weeks ago. A picture of Santa standing next to a box of dynamite in Times Square and a threat. We made it Christmas in New York soon. The police commissioner recently told David this is their new reality.
Are you fearful of more ISIS-inspired attacks here in New York City?
This is part of our job. No, it used to be it was about traditional crime. Now it's about fighting terrorism. This is what we do every day.
Just weeks ago, 8 people died in this truck attack in Lower Manhattan when the driver plowed down a bike path. And late last year, more than 24 were injured in the city's Chelsea neighborhood after a pressure cooker packed with shrapnel detonated.
Lindsay Davis with us live tonight as well. She's in the heart of Times Square. Lindsay, we can see the police presence there behind you. Late word today about what that suspect is now saying to authorities about ISIS and about the Middle East.
Yes, David. Authorities say that he told them he did it for ISIS. They say that he also mentioned the plight of Muslims over the years and historical grievances, but they say he did not mention the current controversy involving Jerusalem. David?
All right, Lindsay, our thanks to you. We do have one more question on this because we've learned that this could have been far worse, obviously. As we reported, the suspect claims to have worked by himself. Let's get right to our senior justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, tonight. He's live at the FBI. And Pierre, tonight you're learning that sources say the suspect wanted to inflict significant harm but was unable to because this device went off early?
David, according to a law enforcement source, the bomb did not function as intended. There were nails and other parts stuffed into the pipe, and it had the ability to cause more injuries than it did. The pipe did not fully shatter. A 6-inch piece was discovered fully intact. The source was blunt, saying this could have been worse, David.
All right, Pierre Thomas with us tonight as well. Pierre, thank you. There is other news we're following tonight, and next to President Trump. And amid the national conversation about sexual misconduct, President Trump's accusers are now demanding that Congress act, arguing the president should not be immune. The president has denied the allegations, and tonight how the White House is now responding. Here's ABC senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega.
They say no one cared the first time, so today 3 women accusing President Trump of sexual misconduct went public once again, hoping this time Congress will investigate. Rachel Crooks was a Trump Tower receptionist when she says 12 years ago she introduced herself to the billionaire businessman and he began kissing her.
Mr. Trump repeatedly kissed my cheeks and ultimately my lips in an encounter that has since impacted my life well beyond the initial occurrence.
Jessica Leeds says she was on a first-class flight to New York back in the 1980s when he groped her.
When he started to put his hand up my skirt, and that was the last time I wore a skirt traveling.
And Samantha Holvey says Donald Trump inappropriately inspected Miss USA contestants before a 2006 pageant.
These dreams never included a man coming into the backstage hair and makeup area while I sat naked under a robe as he walked around looking at us like we were his property.
And she points to his own words to Howard Stern.
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show. Yes. And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant and therefore I'm inspecting it. They're standing there with no clue. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
So I'm simply confirming that, yes, he did that, and it was as creepy as it sounds.
At least 16 accusers in all. This as one of the highest-ranking women in President Trump's cabinet broke ranks with the party line when she was asked this question.
How do you think people should assess the accusers of the president?
Well, I mean, the same thing as women who accuse anyone should be heard. They should be heard and they should be dealt with. And I think we heard from them prior to the election. And I think any woman who has felt violated or felt mistreated in any way, they have every right to speak up.
The White House today back on the defensive.
Can you stand here right now and say without a doubt, 100% certainty that the more than dozen women who have come forward to accuse this president of misconduct are lying? Do you wrestle with this personally at all?
I'm here to speak on behalf of the president, and I can say that the president has directly responded and said that these allegations are false.
While on Capitol Hill, 5 Democratic senators now calling for President Trump to resign.
President Trump should resign. These allegations are credible. They are numerous.
Cecilia Vega with us live at the White House. And Cecilia, today the White House calling these accusations from the women false claims disputed by eyewitnesses. You asked the White House, where are those accounts from eyewitnesses, and would the White House provide them? What have you heard tonight?
Well, David, they directed me to 2 tabloid stories from last year. One quotes a man who says he was on that flight decades ago with the president and Jessica Lead. He disputes her account that the president groped her. The second alleged eyewitness, David, a teen beauty contestant who was not even at the contest in question.
Cecilia Vega at the White House. Thank you, Cecilia. We move on now to Alabama's high-stakes Senate election, just hours away now. Republican Roy Moore facing allegations of sexual misconduct with minors. And now sitting down for an interview with a 12-year-old girl. Moore's candidacy dividing his own party. The other senator from Alabama, Republican Richard Shelby, saying he cannot vote for Moore. ABC's chief national correspondent Tom Llamas in Alabama again tonight.
Tonight, Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore, who's accused of molesting teenage girls, popped up in a new interview. The Republican, who for a month has avoided questions from reporters covering his campaign, sat down with a 12-year-old girl.
Are you going to support President Trump and help him build the wall?
Yes, I think we need something, and I think it could be stopped sooner than that with the military.
Moore took the last 5 days off from the campaign trail.
Thank you for being here. If you can find Roy Moore, let me know.
The Democrat in this race, Doug Jones, crisscrossing the state, making sure voters don't forget the sexual misconduct allegations against Moore.
Is Alabama going to stand with our daughters and our granddaughters, that we will believe them, we will respect them?
Moore has denied the allegations, but some Republicans, like Alabama's senior senator, have abandoned him.
I didn't vote for Roy Moore. I wouldn't vote for Roy Moore. I think the Republican Party can do better.
But the party's leader, President Trump, is firmly behind him, recording a robocall for Moore.
Roy Moore is the guy we need to pass our Make America Great Again agenda.
And tonight, the president's former chief strategist, Steve Bannon, appearing with Moore for the 3rd time to make sure those Trump supporters vote for Moore tomorrow.
We know these allegations are lies to stop him from going to Washington because they are scared to death of him in the swamp.
All right, Tom Llamas with us tonight from the Moore campaign event in Midland City, Alabama. And Tom, you've learned that now former Secretary of State and Alabama native Condoleezza Rice is weighing in on the eve of this election.
That's right, David, and she's also a Republican. She doesn't mention Moore by name, but she sent a statement to the Alabama news site, AL.com, where she specifically asked voters not to support Moore. She writes, "These critical times require us to come together to reject bigotry, sexism, and intolerance." David?
Tom, thank you again tonight. And next this evening, the major winter storm. Winter weather alerts in more than a dozen states at this hour, from Michigan all the way east to Maine. Snow already in Lansing, Michigan, moving into the northeast overnight. Meteorologist Rob Marciano is tracking this system as it moves eastward. Hey, Rob.
Hey, David, this is some of the coldest air. It is the coldest air of the season for the eastern half of the country, and it's got some snow, too. The low itself, check it out, right over Chicago. You might get an inch. That's about it. Detroit, couple inches as this thing tracks along the Canadian border. But 5 to 10 inches of snow, northern New York, northern New England, and then lake effect snow streamers behind that through Wednesday. But here comes the cold. Afternoon wind chills, 10 degrees in Chicago, 7 degrees in Pittsburgh. By Wednesday afternoon, it's only going to feel as warm as the teens from D.C. to Boston. Dangerous cold. David?
All right, the single digits. We're ready. Thanks, Rob, I think. And to the wildfires in the West tonight, still growing despite calmer winds, and the Thomas Fire in particular. It's now the 5th largest in California history. And the new concern tonight, we told you the firefighters have been digging those fire lines to halt the flames, but now the fires are jumping right over them. ABC senior national correspondent Matt Gutman again tonight.
Tonight, the Thomas Fire marching closer to communities after exploding in size.
Helicopters are making drops. They're trying to stop the spread.
The fire unpredictable and relentless, jumping fire lines meant to contain it, now scorching more than 350 square miles in 7 days, prompting new evacuations overnight. And that's where we found the Claffey family today, cars packed. Little Maisie is the 5th generation of her family of farmers to live here.
What are you afraid of?
The fire.
Like tens of thousands, they face the twin dangers of fire and smoke.
None of us should be breathing it.
The ash coming down like snow. And just this weekend, an additional 2,000 firefighters brought out here to battle the Thomas Fire, creating this massive city of firefighters, hundreds and hundreds of fire engines. The fire threatening 18,000 structures, more than 1,000 animals at the shelter.
Everywhere where we can fit animals, we've done it, and hopefully everybody gets home soon.
David, this area hasn't seen significant rainfall in over 250 days, making all of that shrub you see behind me like kindling and this fire explosive. David.
All right, Matt Gutman on the fires again tonight, and we'll stay on it. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Monday. The celebrity chef now facing allegations of sexual misconduct, stepping aside tonight. Also this evening, there is now word of a fourth shooting on an American highway, the manhunt, and the description now of the vehicle. The tense standoff in Houston, schools put on lockdown. And the interstellar mystery tonight, astronomers tracking this new discovery. Could it be proof of alien technology? A lot more news ahead. Next this Monday night, the manhunt for a highway shooter in Detroit. Police linking the gunman now to a fourth shooting. Here's ABC's Adrian Bankert.
Police today expand their search for evidence on the hunt for a gunman who took aim at drivers on Michigan freeways.
Can you call the police for me? I just got shot in the leg.
The first of 4 people targeted, seen here stumbling into a Detroit gas station just before 3 a.m. Thursday.
That was a rock. I'm on 94. I heard a big bang.
Minutes later, a bullet tears through this man's truck.
Then it went through the car, and the bullet was actually stuck on the bottom of my seat. There was probably about 5-6 cars down. I seen a gun flashing out the window.
3 of the drivers recall seeing a silver sedan pull up alongside them.
We kind of doubled our patrols on the freeway system. We actually have some undercover officers that are working out there.
And David, only one of the drivers was hurt in what police say could have been a game or a stunt, like target practice, and that the suspects had to be moving at very high speeds in order to do so much damage in just minutes. David?
Adrian, thank you. When we come back tonight, news this evening about